Greetings, fellow seekers of knowledge. I would like to take a few minutes to invite you to participate in a very special upcoming live stream event this coming January 27th, in which we will take a deep dive into the mysteries of Atlantis. The question could rightfully be asked, hasn't the subject of Atlantis been worked to death at this point? Hasn't more than enough been written and said over the years without any apparent hope of resolving the question? A couple of thousand books have been written on the subject, proposing literally dozens of solutions and various locations around the world as the site for Plato's fabled lost civilization. Assuming, of course, that we are willing to alter one or another of the specific details related by Plato, our primary source for the tale of Atlantis. The most prominent detail provided by Plato's narratives concerns the geographic location of Atlantis. And I quote from the dialogues, "This power came forth out of the Atlantic Ocean, and there was an island situated in front of the straits, which are by you called the Pillars of Heracles." In spite of that unambiguous statement just quoted, the question of Atlantis is currently being kept alive by myriads of researchers who, over the years, have abandoned the details of Plato's narrative to a greater or lesser extent in order to propose some alternate location, which may have a number of parallels with his original account, but which also requires significant departures from the purity of the narrative as relayed by Plato. Sites that have been proposed for the location of Atlantis have included Crete, the island of Santorini, Tunisia, Mauritania, Anatolia, Carthage, Antarctica, the British Isles, Greenland, the Celtic Shelf, Cuba, Bermuda, and so on. In the early days of Atlantis research from the late 19th century up until the 1970s, most researchers put the location in the mid-Atlantic Ocean in the area of the Azores Islands, which was considered to be the most consistent with Plato's geography as expressed in his two dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, and as expressed in the aforementioned quote. However, in the 1970s, a number of geologists set out to examine the plausibility of an Atlantic location for Atlantis and concluded that there was no evidence for any sizable sunken landmass that could ever have satisfied Plato's criteria, and therefore dismissed his account as mere fable, or perhaps a political allegory, but not a real place. In the aftermath of this declaration of implausibility for a mid-Atlantic location by scientific authorities, most researchers then looked elsewhere, finding similarities in literally dozens of other locations, as I explained, but only after abandoning or altering Plato's precise description and details. With so many conflicting interpretations, a serious researcher might conclude that the problem is hopelessly intractable and not worthy of scientific scrutiny. On the other hand, I would suggest that the scientific dismissal of a mid-Atlantic location was premature, and the subsequent tangents embarked upon by researchers only muddied the waters and threw the quest for Atlantis, if it existed, off track. I am arguing that it is time to go back to the source and examine to what extent Plato's precise details might be supported or refuted by modern scientific knowledge. I have covered much of this material in my Cosmographia podcasts, but there is more to be said. And the goal with this live stream is to provide a succinct and condensed interpretation of Plato's remarkable story in the light of modern scientific knowledge, and perhaps to lay the groundwork for an upcoming expedition. I hope to see you on January 27th.